John 13, verse 14 and 15. And it says, "If I then, the Lord and the teacher, washed your feet, and also ought to wash one another's feet. For I gave you an example that you should also do as I did to you." So my question, John, is, do you see this ceremony of foot washing as an observance that should be enjoyed along with the Lord's Supper? And also, what does this verse actually mean?
Thank you, Wayne. There are some good, wonderful evangelical brethren of mine who have believed for many years that the foot washing is an ordinance equal to the Lord's table and to baptism. They see it as an equal ordinance that the church is to carry out. In fact, the Grace Brethren tradition has been, that's a group of churches. The Grace Brethren churches you're probably familiar with, good churches, God bless churches. It's been their tradition through the years not to have the Lord's table without the concomitant foot washing service. But I feel that is not the intention of the passage, to teach that foot washing is an ordinance along with communion and baptism. And I suppose the best indicator of that is its absolute absence in the book of Acts. We have no occasion in the book of Acts where the early church ever engaged in a foot washing service as such. We have no word in any of the Pauline epistles instructing us to do it. There's no letter given to any of the churches telling them this is what they ought to do, although there are many things about baptism, many things about the Lord's table. So I don't think you can put foot washing on the level that you put the Lord's table and communion, or the Lord's table and baptism, rather. Now, backing up from that, what is the Lord saying here? The Lord is saying, you are to do as I have done to you. If I then, your Lord and Master, have washed your feet, you ought also to wash one another's feet, for I have given you an example that you should do as I have done to you. Now, the idea of foot washing here was meeting a need. These people had come into a banquet, and in a banquet situation, they reclined at supper, and very often they would recline, and so someone's feet would be near someone else's head, or at least they would be raised to some extent. It could be a very rude thing to come into such a feast with dirty feet, obviously. Wearing sandals, the roads were either dusty or muddy. Consequently, the feet would be dirty. That was normal. There were no paved roads. And so it was common to have a slave there to wash feet, just a courtesy. And so our Lord simply did what was common courtesy. He did what was to provide for the nicest possible environment in which to consume a meal. In our society, that wouldn't be a problem. And that is why it says that you should do as I have done to you. Not necessarily what I've done, but you should be as eager in meeting someone's need, in serving someone's simple physical need as I am in serving you. Maybe for us it means getting up from the table to go and get another serving for someone, or to go get a pitcher of water. Maybe it means to provide a seat for them at the table. Maybe it means to provide a place for them to wash their hands. Our Lord is teaching us that we are to meet needs, and I think the sum of it is given in John 13:34. A new commandment I give you, that you love one another as I have loved you, that you also love one another. And what he is saying here is you're to love as I've loved. How have I loved? I have loved by meeting your simplest, most basic need. Maybe it means giving food to someone who's without food. Maybe it means giving a hand to someone who's struggling in the physical walk. It could mean anything, but that's the essence of what he's saying. Learn to be a servant. Learn to be humble. Learn to serve someone. And I don't think that's really the issue today. I mean, you can be sure that if people gathered for a foot washing ceremony, they would have washed their feet immaculately before they ever got there. And so it doesn't serve a need. It would only be a symbol. Now, I wouldn't argue with folks who wanted to do it as a symbolic expression. I would not put it on the level of baptism and communion. And I think if all it is a symbol, it misses the point that our Lord is saying, and that is learn to meet people's basic needs and put yourself in the role of a servant. I mean, let's face it, washing someone's dirty feet wouldn't be the loftiest thing you could think of to do. It would definitely be the lowliest. And it really suited the occasion here, because the disciples were arguing about who was the greatest. And in an argument about who was the greatest, none of them would wash feet. And Jesus rebukes them by taking off his own garment, and he, the very Son of God, does what they wouldn't do and says, now you see how you're to act. So the very Son of God, God in human flesh, demonstrated a humility that sinful men wouldn't even demonstrate. Okay?
Very good.
Thank you, Wayne.